Sparking Everyday Discipleship, where we disciple parents to disciple their children with everyday discipleship every day, sparking important conversations with our children. I'm your host, Terrie Hellard-Brown, and I'm so thankful you've chosen to spend some time with us today. We have a new guest with us. This is her first time on the show, but I know you're going to love the conversation. We had such a great time talking together, and that is Cindy Sawyer. And she is a children's author who blends adventure, STEM, and social emotional learning into her Christian books. Some of her books are general market as well, but you can see the thread of faith and important discussions of forgiveness and creativity and those kinds of things that are very Christian at their core. Her books will bless your family, and I know you're going to be blessed by this interview. So let's jump in and join the conversation. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're spending some time with us today. And today we have a special guest. Cindy Sawyer is with us today. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk with you about your books and your writing journey and faith and all those good things. So let's jump right in and let's talk about your newest book, The Wonder of Under. It is so adorable. Could you share the heart behind The Wonder of Under and what you hope children will take away from it?
Yes, The Wonder of Under is a book about a little boy who is he's bored. He's looking for something to do. He's looking for these grand adventures, And the reason I call it The Wonder of Under is because he's looking underneath things. He looks under the bed, he looks under the rug, he looks under the couch. And he's really disappointed because all he finds is these little bits and pieces of things that need to be thrown away. But then when he doesn't find the adventure that he is longing for, he looks at these things that he finds and he upcycles them and creates his own adventure. So it's kind of fun to see how that plays out.
Yeah, you can see his imagination throughout the whole story. Parents will love it. I think kids will love it too. It's so cute. And then I love that then you bring that to him using that imagination to create something. So I loved it. I thought it was really cute.
Well, thank you.
I think kids will really enjoy it. So then you also have another book, Remy's Sticky Situation. Tell us a little bit about that one as well.
Yeah, that one's actually a newer book that just came out this year. So I haven't even had time to send that up for any contests or anything. Remy is about a little raccoon who, I don't know how many of you are familiar with raccoons, but they tend to take their food and they put it in water. And it's been thought that they wash their food, but now lately they're figuring out that it has something to do with the sensory things in their hands, that they have to feel their food a different way or whatever. Anyways, for whatever reason, they put their food in water. And Remy finds this cotton candy at the fair. And so he goes to different places to wash it off, the creek and then the splash pad. And every time he does, it disappears. So it's like a mystery. Except for Remy. He thinks he's got it figured out. And every time it happens, he blames one of his friends. Just feel like, oh, you're not my friend anymore. And then at the very end, he realizes, oh, it's water that's been melting my cotton candy. And then he realizes, you know what? I lost some really good friends over this. So he has to find a way to apologize to them. So it's a story about friendship and forgiveness. A lot of your books will talk about how to forgive a friend. This one takes it a step further because it is harder to humble yourself and go apologize to somebody. But he realizes that his friends are sweeter than his cotton candy. So that's kind of how that one wraps up.
I love that. I thought it was so funny too, because I have a book on forgiveness. And in the story, the girl who's talking to her mom uses the analogy of a raccoon caught in a trap and that forgiveness lets the raccoon free. And so I just thought, oh, good. Another story about forgiveness with a raccoon.
That is super sweet. I love that.
I love that. I think that's great.
Raccoons and forgiveness just go together.
Yes, they apparently do. And I even have one here. Little raccoon. Woohoo.
Oh, so cute.
Whoops, he fell down. Poor raccoon. Okay.
Oh.
Anyway. Well, I have to ask you, how do your books help kids grow not only in imagination, but also in character and values?
The characters that I create are characters that kids can relate to. In The Wonder of Under, it's more for younger kids, I think, a little bit younger than the other book, so they can relate on just a little toddler being bored. What do I do? What do I do? And the older one is almost more for like maybe kids entering kindergarten or first grade, where they're going to start making new friends. And they're just learning how to be a friend and what kind of friend makes a good friend. So I think kids can relate to that and maybe help them problem solve and maybe deal with their emotions in a positive way along that line.
Yeah, and we were talking before we started, a lot of your books deal with STEM and
Mhm.
deal with SEL, which is social emotional learning. So I want you to talk about, first of all, how your faith has influenced your writing. Then let's dive in a little bit with the SEL and STEM stuff a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. The first book I wrote, I did not realize was both STEM and SEL because I had never heard of SEL before. But the more I'm learning about SEL, the more I thought my books really do deal with emotions too. And then when I wrote Remy, I'm like, again, the STEM in that is, why does cotton candy disappear? Why does anything melt? Then you've got the SEL of the friendship and the forgiveness. And I think addressing those, even though these first two books I wrote are not overtly Christian, they have Christian values in them. And I think it's important for us to do the social emotional learning in light of our faith and helping kids to deal with them the correct way. And it's really nice too, the books, when you read books to kids, you open up that conversation too. They're free to ask questions and it just gets them talking about those things along the line of, what is the right way to handle the situations.
Yeah, I think that's so important. If parents have been following the conversation on YouTube and social media about SEL, they may just shy away from the whole notion of it. And like we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about, we need to take back the
Yes.
things that Satan's trying to steal from our families. If you read the definition of social emotional learning, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the way some schools and some people are defining those terms. They're taking it to an unbiblical place.
Yes. Yeah.
We still need to help our children navigate their emotions. And like you said, they're just learning how to be a friend. They need to also know how to forgive and to be forgiven, to ask for forgiveness. If we don't teach our children these things, then we're crippling our children. We need to help them to have strong relationships. So we need to take that back. We need to keep
Right.
looking at SEL. So I think that's pretty cool that you've
Yeah.
tackled these types of things. My
Mhm.
books deal with emotions because we
Yeah.
want our kids to be healthy emotionally as well
Well,
as spiritually.
I think that's one thing. First of all, social emotional learning exists. It's what you do with it that matters. And yeah, some of the schools have really taken it to an unhealthy level, but we still own that. A lot
Mhm.
of books teach social emotional learning and we just don't label it as such. But on my blog, I have been pulling all kinds of books from Christian authors and non Christian authors that are just beautifully written that have good, solid SEL principles and mix it with STEM too. And I think a lot of people just don't realize, that there are a lot of books out there that do that. I guess just because we don't label it.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Yeah.
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 And I think because if a Christian writer labels it that way, then we think, oh my goodness, they're going this way when not necessarily. And
Right.
that's why we need to preview the books. And I've vetted like over 100 books on my mailing list that they get when they sign up for a mailing list because some books have fantastic titles and inside is just the worst theology ever, really tearing down the family, the biblical worldview, disrespecting parents, those kinds of things. And yet, some books you don't recognize are really a treasure. And so, the more that those of us who do blogs and podcasts can vet those books for parents and help them out, I think that's great. Especially, most of my listeners know that three of my children are on the autism spectrum. Social emotional learning is such an important part of our lives. We have to, what we call task analyze, break down situations that most kids can just pick up
Mhm.
naturally in relationships. But with a child that's got neurodiversity going on, they sometimes need those things taught and broken down. And I think all children need some social emotional learning, of course, as we're guiding them into adulthood. Without some of this, my kids would have been socially lost. because they didn't just pick things up. And so books became super important in our family. Role playing even became important, practicing how to respond. I think the difference between what the political worldly group of people are trying to accomplish with SEL and what the Christian community is trying to accomplish are totally different. We're trying to help children understand, yes, I have an emotion. How do I manage that? How do I handle that in a godly way or a God honoring way? How do I have the character, the discipline within myself
Yeah.
to navigate these strong, big feelings?
The discipline is key. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So many times as parents, I think we think discipline is punishment or reward, and discipline is something we're helping our children have from within themselves, that they can self-govern, self-regulate. And that's what we want our kids to have, those tools. So SEL does become important when we tackle it that way, with a biblical worldview and the idea of discipleship behind it, I think. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that makes perfect sense, and you hit the nail on the head when you said discipline. It's just teaching them to learn to discipline themselves. And that starts at a very young age. How do I handle this? When a 2-year-old is biting, you just let him bite because he feels like biting? No, you got to teach him. I'm not talking again about punishment. Just teach him why that's wrong.
Yeah.
I had a stepsister or sister-in-law. Her son was biting, and she decided to pretend like she was biting him back, and he actually passed out. But
Oh my gosh.
she felt so bad. But you know what? He learned. But no, I don't advise you to bite anybody. But anyways, and I do. I know. I honestly don't like the term cell necessarily, especially with STEM, because then you have stem cell. So it's kind of like,
interesting. Never thought of that.
yes, when you just say it to somebody, oh, I write, stem and cell storybooks, like stem cell, what's that? So I would love to find a different term for that, either something different for cell or something for the combination of stem and cell. It'd be nice if they had their own term, and I've looked stuff up, and there's a couple of ideas out there, but I don't like it, like stempathy. And it's like, no, I don't like that. It's not stempathy. Yeah,
Sounds like a new
open to
character.
ideas.
That's so funny. Okay, yeah, we'll see if anyone has any good ideas. I can put them in the show notes,
Yeah.
comments, and we'll share them.
Yeah.
So how do stories open doors for conversations? To me, that is the key to this whole thing. If we can't open up the conversations, then it's a dead stop. So how can we make sure our stories and these times with our kids open up those conversations?
Well, first of all, reading, it feels very safe to kids. It's a safe way to explore big ideas, just to sit down with them and read those stories where parents, grandparents, whoever can start asking you questions like, how does this character remind you of Jesus? Or do you remember a story from the Bible that relates to this? Or even, what would you do differently? How would you handle this situation? Just all kinds of ways to open up a conversation. And the beauty of that, too, is that you're communicating with your child. And not only do you feel safe while they're reading with you, but that safe feeling is going to carry out as they grow older, feeling like they can come to you and talk about things, hopefully, that they're dealing with.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we can start those conversations when they're very young and they know they can come to us about anything, it goes into their teenage years. That's one thing I know for sure I did right as a parent, because my kids are grown now and they will often come to us first to talk about the things they're concerned about. And that is like the best, to know that they trust us and know they can talk about anything.
Right. It's just not about what they learn at school or what they learn at Sunday school. It's about your faith.
Yeah, it is. I love that. Well, what does your creative process look like? I have some people who watch this who are new authors or aspiring authors. So, what would you share with writers who are interested in writing for children, and tell us about your process?
First of all, play with the kids. There's so many fun things. Babysit, do Sunday school. That's where I get a lot of my ideas. I'm a kid at heart, so I'm silly anyways. I love to watch cartoons. Especially if it's with my grandkids. In fact, The Wonder of Wonder, the idea for that book came from my granddaughter. She had some medical issues when she was little, but when she started to crawl, she would crawl across the floor and just keep looking under the rug. Then she'd look, and I'm like, what in the world? It's like, it's The Wonder of Wonder. And I'm like, that would make a good title for a kid's book. And that's where I get a lot of my story ideas, because I'm a title person. If I hear a catchy phrase or something, you can ask my family. I'm always saying that would make a great title for a children's book. Then you got to come up with a story, which, wasn't hard with The Wonder of Wonder, because I already had my story. It's like, what is she looking for? Well, she's probably looking for adventure, So that's part of it, is getting those ideas down and then write. A lot of my stories that I write, and of course I've only got the 2 books that are published, I write them a few different ways, because I never know at first, are they going to be rhyming books? Or are they going to be just, some type of story that just flows? Is it going to be a chapter book? Or always, when you're writing for little ones, they say a picture book shouldn't be more than 500 words, which it depends really who your publisher is or if you're self-publishing. But guarantee you will write more words than what you need. So you'll have to do cutting and decide what works best. Have other people read your stuff, read it to other kids. It's just a real joy to see how things flesh out, how God works through all of that.
Yeah.
He takes this raw stuff, and it may take a few years, but he shapes it. It's okay. This is great. Oh, okay. Here it is. Perfect.
Oh, so true.
And then you wipe the sweat from your brow and be like, yay, that was fun. Let's do it again.
I know. Oh my goodness. That was the biggest learning curve when I became a children's writer was, man, the editing process. I thought it was bad for devotionals and other things I had written until I really dove into children's writing. And the editing process is brutal.
Yeah, it is.
I said every word has to fight to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wrote for a magazine, and you had to have your whole story and a little side blurb for the parents had to be 400 words or less. And I'm like, wow, okay, we did it. But man, that hurts your brain sometimes.
It really does, but you want a polished story that's going to pull those kids in and teach the lesson that you're wanting to focus on. And their attention spans are not as long as ours. So
yeah,
that's the nature of the beast, I guess.
Well, I want to ask this especially because I'm also self-published and have my own little publishing company.
Oh,
You chose the path of self-publishing.
I did.
So what has that journey been like, and what have you learned along the way?
It's been a lot of work, but it's been rewarding too. My whole goal, as I'm sure your goal was, I know some people just have a book they want to get out there, so they just self-publish. My goal, I wanted to put something out there that was quality, that
Mhm.
could compete with the traditional publishing world. And I just got an ACFW award for The Wonder of Under,
Oh,
which
congratulations.
some of the other award winners were traditionally published, and I was self-published. I think there was 1 or 2 other self-published too. So I feel like I'm on the right tracks. It's a lot of work. So I went through edits and beta readers. I do my own layout design because I'm a marketing person, and I've done that, for eons. So I did do my own layout and design. I did not do my own illustrations. That is not my thing. That is the one thing I could not do. But I was able to format and upload and then market my book. Oh my goodness, if I had the money to pay some other people to do some of that stuff, I would. It's so much work. And I think with the last book, I got a little bit burned out. So I had to take some time to recoup from that, because it is a lot of work. And then the marketing never stops. You
No,
can't stop marketing. So
that's so true. I think that's the most challenging part, whether you go traditional or self-publish. The
yes.
marketing is, well, first of all, most of us are more introverts. We like the writing, we love the writing, but getting out there and sharing and making sure people know our book is there is tough for a lot of us. And I think that is a challenge no matter which way you go, because a lot of the publishing houses now, they don't have the same funding or whatever to do the same publicity that we've heard of them doing in the past. And from what my friends have said, they have to do a ton of marketing themselves. It's just the world we're in now. It's crazy.
Right.
But
I think you need to ask yourself, why am I writing this book?
Amen.
If it's just for family, maybe you just want to go with a simple self-published thing and not worry about forking out money for 3 different edits or whatever. Do you want it published this year? Or do you want to go through a traditional publisher and wait 2 or 3 years? And that's after it gets accepted, or 1 or 2
Right.
years or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of questions to ask yourself if you're up for the challenge. There's a big learning curve on self-publishing.
For sure. Yeah. I think that's so important. I have a friend who wrote a book, a wonderful book. I helped critique it. And she wrote it for her grandkids. We tried to talk her into pitching it and trying to get it published because it was such a good book. That's not what God called her to.
Oh, yeah.
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 So she just published it for her grandkids. But oh my goodness, it was such a great book. I got a copy of it because I just loved it so much. She was
Yeah.
gracious enough to let us get a copy. But I think that is important. Sometimes when people have gone through trauma, God leads them to write, but not to be published, just as kind of a self therapy to go through the hurt they've experienced and to walk through that. So I think there's a lot of different reasons. For me, it was like I saw a trend in children's books that was going way off what I felt children should be reading, where the books should be guiding them and challenging them. I want books that talk about being creative and having adventure and having fun. I want my kids to read books that are about how much God loves them and what it means to have good character and be a good person. And I was seeing some books that I felt they were borderline abusive. Let's just be honest. Just really. And so I had such a burning in my heart that we need to get out there as Christian writers and help children have some wholesome things to read that are safe, that are quality. I see some self-published people who don't take the time to get them edited, to get good illustrators, and to make a book that they can be really proud of in the marketplace. So we're on the same page with all of that. That's definitely a priority with what we do, is to make sure it's quality. There's lots of people out there who can walk you through the whole process. If this is something one of you who's listening today are interested in, that you really feel God is calling you to be a writer and yet you don't know the ropes, we can help you. Any of us that have self-published can help you, or you can contact an organization like our little publishing company, or there's some others that are out there that will help walk you through the process. So it can be done, and it's a fun adventure for sure. Okay, well, what's next for you as an author?
Well, I actually have a couple of books on the burner. One of them, again, I'm not real sure. It has a little bit more of a Christian angle on it. It's called The Dog Who Ate Christmas, which is based on a beagle that we used to have, who one Christmas ate all the Christmas cookies and then ate all the candy canes off the tree and then ate the bacon for the brunch. So I geared it toward Christmas in that, he sees his family, they're all happy for Christmas. So, oh, Christmas cookies, this must be what Christmas is all about. And then, oh, candy canes. In the end, of course, she finds out exactly what Christmas is all about. I also have a couple of other ones that I'm working on. They wouldn't be fit probably for the secular world. They're going to have a Christian message in them. I'm also working on a mid-grade novel. I was working with a writing coach for a while on that, and I've taken a break this year, getting ready to start that back up again. It's a middle grade novel called Almost a Ghost. It's just about a boy that is in an accident and he starts turning invisible. And instead of turning invisible, like, my finger, my hand, whatever, he disappears in layers. And he has a sister who's autistic, and she is a lovely young lady who loves anatomy. So she loves to draw him, and he's annoyed by it because, here he is dealing with turning invisible, and she's drawing it and going, this is so cool. And he's like, stop it. But his story is about how he feels invisible at school. Then he actually turns invisible. So there's just a lot involved in that, obviously, with it being a novel. He's estranged from his father, and his father ends up coming back in his life to help him deal with all that's going on. And there's some bad guys in there that are trying to get him because it's their chemicals that turn him invisible. And they're like, we can make a fortune if we can figure this out. So that one's a fun book. That one's fun, but it's a lot more time consuming.
Oh, for sure. Both of those sound amazing, though. I can't wait for them to be out. We'll definitely have you back on and talk about them when it happens.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more thing. And then, of course, if there's something else you want to add, feel free to. But how do you hope your books will continue to spark everyday discipleship for families?
I hope that families will be able to use them as a springboard to teach godly values, and that kids will just grow through them in a lot of different ways. There's so many different levels when you're reading a book. They'll learn how to read, for one, or they learn how to deal with problems, or they'll just have fun with them. Books are fun. One of the things I do with my books is I put activities in the back. Like for the Wonder of Under, I have where you can make a sailboat, and different things like that. And in the back of Remy, I have raccoon facts, just so that they can not just read the book, but they can also immerse themselves in the experience and just have fun. It's great for classroom or just family fun time.
Yeah.
Make a meal of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So bring families together is a big thing for
Yeah.
me. I used to love reading to my kids every night, when I tucked them in. It was a very special, memorable time. And it's fun to see them grow up and reading to their kids.
Oh,
It's great.
yeah.
It's great.
That's fun. Oh, I love that. And I do. I love the back matter in books. I think it's so important in picture books and board books or whatever to have these extra things. And there's such a treasure. I saw the little activity in the back of the Under book, and I thought, perfect. This is so perfect. So every kid's going to want to do that anyway when they read the story.
Oh my goodness. And they're so fun. I actually give kits away when I do my author events that have the 3 pieces in it so kids can put the
Uh-huh.
boat together. And my grandson, every time he comes over, he's 5 years old. It's like, check out your boats. Let's make some boats. So he always has me read the
Adorable.
story first, and then we make boats, and then we figure out all the different ways that we can make it sink.
Love it. I love it. Well, if schools or parents want to reach out to you for a school visit or just to ask a question, how can they reach you?
They can reach me through my website. It's just CindyLynnSawyer.com. Lynn has 2 N's in it, so Cindy, Lynn Sawyer.com. Or my Facebook. It's at Kidlit Writer. So
Okay.
either way,
Cool.
I have an email too. It's just CindyLynnSawyer@gmail.com.
All right. And we will have those links in the show notes so you can link right to it and go to her website. I just encourage you to check out her books. They really are adorable, beautifully illustrated. Who are your illustrators for the 2 books?
Oh, that's a story. Okay. So the real reason I became an author is because of my family. I have always wanted to be a writer and an author. I had 3 books written. Remy was one of them. The Wonder of Wonder was another one. And The Dog Who Ate Christmas. I had paid for them to be professionally edited. They were ready to go. Okay. Then I started looking at the pricing of illustrators. And I was like, oh, because I'm
Yeah.
cheap, but you can't be cheap when it comes to an illustrator, because for a picture book, I mean, they put a lot of work into that and they earn every penny that they get. And so I thought, I cannot undercut anybody, obviously, not that anybody would let me anyways. But so I just set them aside, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be 60 years old and I'm still not a published author, and whining. I whine a lot. But anyways, for my 60th birthday party, my family, my kids, my husband, and my mom set a box in front of me, and they all get in front of me and they've got these cameras in my face. I'm like, oh, and I'm making faces at the cameras. And I open up the box and there's my book. It is illustrated, everything. Now, it wasn't finished. My daughter gave me the files so I could tweak the story a little bit more. And I pulled some of the illustrations out and did some stuff in Photoshop. But for the most part, it was published. They had the ISBN on it and everything. Now, they had hired an illustrator, and she didn't work out. Luckily, they didn't spend a lot of money on her. I think they got her on Upwork or something like that. So my daughter illustrated that book for me
Oh, how
because they
exciting.
didn't have time to get an illustrator. So she just hurried up and did it. And, okay, wouldn't recommend this, but it really worked for my book. She illustrated it in Canva. Have you heard of
Oh,
Canva?
yeah.
Yeah. You really can't illustrate a lot of books in Canva because, like I said, and then I pulled it out and did Photoshop. I added the little frog who's hiding in the pages. I
Uh-huh.
did a lot of little tweaks on it. It's just the character's head and his expressions. I changed the expressions a bit, but it's not like the character has to be on different, positions on every page. So it worked for that one. Okay, and then Remy's Sticku situation isn't quite as elaborate, but I met this illustrator. We both worked for the same marketing firm. She had done some work for Disney. I guess she was on contract to do t-shirts and stuff, and she was transitioning from owning her own graphic design business where she did cards and stuff to book illustrating. So I think it was the second book that she illustrated. Yeah, and it was pricey.
Yeah.
Not as pricey as it could have been, but it still cost me quite a bit of money. But she did beautiful work, and I enjoyed working with her. You really have to have a relationship and a trust between the two of you and a respect to make that work well. So we worked really well together. We already knew each other, so that helped, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so important with the kinds of books we write that we have a good relationship, because the book is just as much theirs as ours by the end of it,
Yes. Yes.
with these illustrations. So that's pretty cool. And I love it too. That's one of the things that I love about self-publishing, because we do get to build that relationship.
Yeah.
When you're traditionally published, you don't get that usually.
Right. You don't have to pay for it, but you don't get the relationship either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a special blessing of working with your illustrator and going to events and your illustrator being able to be there, which probably happens sometimes with traditional publishers too. But
Yeah.
since we both live locally, we get to, bookstore hop and stuff like that.
That's
When
cool.
she's up to it. She doesn't like to be, what do I say, in the face of public all that much, but she enjoys some of it.
My daughter illustrated my chapter book, so we just have the little pictures in there. And when we're at an event together, the kids love it that they get the signature from the illustrator. I think it's so fun when she gets to sign them too. Well, this has been fun. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that is fun. In fact, the first few times people asked me to sign my book, I was like, really, you know me. So I'm like, okay, I'll sign your book.
Yeah.
It just felt weird.
It does, but it's fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. I've really enjoyed talking with you. And like I said, I definitely want to have you back on when your other books come out. They sound amazing.
Thank you.
So keep in touch with us, and we'll look forward to talking with you again.
All right. Sounds great. I appreciate you having me on today. It's been fun.
Thank you. Thank you for spending time with us today. If we sparked any questions or you have any comments, please feel free to put those in the comment section below the show notes. We would love to hear from you. I wanted to let you know, just remind you that you can reach out to Cindy on her website, cindylynnsawyer.com, and that link will be in the show notes so you can click right to it. She does talks at schools, and she loves to talk to children and to school groups, and so you can reach out to her. And you definitely want to keep in touch with her to know when her next books are coming out. Don't they sound amazing? I can't wait to read those books too. Also, on our website, terriehellard-brown.com, you can find lots of freebies to download. If you join the mailing list, you get all kinds of freebies there. Plus, we have a parenting challenge. We have a Disciple Well class that is priced very low, very affordable for families, to help to learn how to disciple our children well. And we have all kinds of things available on my website. So check it out when you get a chance. If you've bought any of my books, there are free things on each of the books web pages that you can download and enjoy together as a family, or that your kids can enjoy doing on their own. We just want to bless you and bless your family and help you to navigate parenting and building discipleship into your home. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Remember, you can always attend one of our free coaching sessions. Just sign up for that on my website as well. So we just want to minister to you and hope that we can bless you. And of course, as always, most of all, we pray that you feel empowered, equipped, and encouraged to walk by faith and to embrace everyday discipleship every day with the people in your life.